What's going on, you guys? Welcome on back to the channel. And wow, that's really all I can think of to say when I think about this new Vigilantes episode is just wow. Everything that I wanted this final episode of Aizawa's flashback to be, it was. From the emotions to the animation to the voice acting to everything in between. This was hands down the most perfect finale I think I could have ever dreamed of. This is everything that I wanted to see. I've been wanting to see Aizawa's flashback brought to our screens for years now. It was the one thing that I needed for My Hero Academia to for it to feel fully complete. We're here. It's finally been adapted, and it was just perfect. It was perfect. How Shirakumo's death affected literally everyone and changed so many things, changes the entire scope of My Hero Academia. I finally understand it now. I finally get why Shirakumo's death is such a big thing. I never really felt it in the anime before, but now I do, and they handled it to perfection. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and talk about this final episode of Aizawa's flashback. So, first and foremost, I like that they set the stage early with Yamada and Sensoji kind of talking about Aizawa. Yamada pretty much saying, when Aizawa gets going, he's pretty much a monster when he gets going. So I like that they set that up early, and I especially like that kind of like monster thing that they have at the beginning. It absorbed everything, right? He absorbed literally all of their attacks, and now he's essentially stronger than he would have been before. So now you have that other layer where Yamada might have been part of the problem as well, and he might have some sort of grief too that he has to process because he might feel like he was the cause of Shirakumo's death. But moving on from that, we then see Shirakumo and Aizawa essentially taking care of some little kids that they come across. Right, Shirakumo gives them a ride on his cloud, and Shirakumo basically puts that little seed in Aizawa's head, pretty much saying, "Hey, man, you would be a really great teacher." Right, Shirakumo is the one that puts that little seed in his head, telling him that he could be a good teacher someday. Like working with kids, him working with kids is honestly it's like something that he could see him doing in the future. And I like that. I like that they set that they plant that little seed right there because for me, I don't think just Midnight saying, "Hey, you should be a teacher at UA." Even Yamada saying you should be a teacher at UA, I don't think that would have resonated with Aizawa. But the fact that Shirakumo is the one that told him, "Hey, you could be a teacher someday," something like do something like this with kids. I think that's like the main thing that pushes him to become a teacher later on in life. So that's like it's like kind of feels like a throwaway line at first, but then you realize all like the potential story ramifications with that line and how it pretty much sets up everything for the future. And I love that. Now, moving on from that, man, after that brief moment of like respite with Aizawa and Shirakumo talking about their future, everything hits the fan, right? Everything hits the fan from that moment on to the end of the episode. There's no breaks, all right? It pretty much is just like pedal to the metal for the rest of the episode, and and that's perfect to me. I love that because it sets up everything perfectly. So we get to like Aizawa and Shirakumo protecting the kids from the villain, and almost immediately Shirakumo is taken out of commission. And what I like about that is it plays with your expectations as well because we think Shirakumo at this moment is just like kind of buried under rubble and he's trying to like help Aizawa get him through this fight. And that's what I like about it too because Aizawa, like even before like Shirakumo was giving him the encouragement and all that, Aizawa was kind of balling out, right? Aizawa was kind of going crazy. He was using like his binding cloth in unique ways. He was using erasure. Like, sure, like he was kind of messing up a little bit because he didn't understand like the full power of the wards. Like, even if he used erasure on them, they could still like activate the quirk after he like launches them away. So he had to factor that in. But up until that point, man, he was kind of balling out. So even though he kind of like got ragdolled a little bit, you feel like, okay, Aizawa can do this. Like even though Aizawa kind of had that moment of inner doubt, he was pretty much just saying to himself, there's nothing I can do, right? I I'm helpless. There's nothing I can do to defeat this villain. We're gonna lose. Everything's falling apart. My teacher's down. I don't know where Midnight is. I don't know where Yamada is. I don't know where anybody is, right? I'm just alone. Like, Aizawa probably felt so helpless in that moment, but then he hears Shirakumo's voice. He hears Shirakumo giving him the encouragement that he needs in that moment. And in that moment, right as soon as Aizawa hears the words of encouragement from his best friend, the man that essentially inspired him to become the hero that he always wanted to be, that gave him hope for the future, we see a spike in animation quality that I don't know if I've ever seen from My Hero Academia, right? Sure, the final episode of My Hero Academia season 8 popped off, and like so many episodes in that season were perfect, but this right here felt like an uptick in quality that I don't think the series has ever had before. Aizawa was moving crazy. They were experimenting with like different art styles, it felt like. I could tell Angel Cade was on this. Miso was going crazy. There was so much shit that was going on here. Like I said, he was using his binding cloth in unique ways. You could tell that he was fully locked into the fight because like he bites the binding cloth to kind of like shoot like an object at the creature. Dude, it was insane. It was such an insane fight. He's using Erasure in so many different ways. Like, and what I like about it too is you see Aizawa has fully accepted Erasure like as his quirk. He's finally come to realize how he can use Erasure in his own way, right? For so long within this flashback, you see Aizawa not really know how to use Erasure, right? He honestly didn't even really like Erasure, I feel like, because he viewed it as like a hindrance to becoming a hero. But now you see Aizawa has fully accepted his quirk. He's fully actualized with Erasure. And now he's able to use it freely, right? He's finally figured out how he can use Erasure in the best way possible. And you see him just absolutely piece up this villain. He goes absolutely crazy in this fight. I loved it. Every aspect of this fight was perfect. Like, I don't think there was a bad moment, in my opinion. You could tell, like, I've said this before, I've said this in previous episodes, you can tell the animators missed animating Prime Aizawa because they completely locked in. All right, this was perfect. Hands down, this is hands down the best Aizawa episode of all time. Full stop. Aizawa has never had a moment better than this. And it was just incredible, man, how they brought this to life. I loved it so much. Aizawa finally got his big moment again after years of kind of just like being on the sidelines in My Hero Academia. He's finally fully actualized again. We finally get to see Aizawa in his prime again. And I love that so much. Now, moving on to the aftermath of the fight. What I love is Aizawa thinks that Shirakumo is still alive during, like, even at the end of this fight. He thinks Shirakumo is still alive, and he's like, okay, like, he sees Midnight, and he's like, okay, Midnight, what are we gonna do? Do we gotta take him to the hospital? Is it worse than I think? And then you just see Midnight start to cry, right? You see Midnight start to cry. He sees Yamada over by the speaker, and everything starts to get pieced together in his mind. You slowly see him start to realize that his best friend, the man that put him on this path, is gone, right? And then you see the rain come back after Aizawa has never seen a sky so blue last episode. You see the rain throughout the flashback part away because light has come into Aizawa's life. But now, with the death of Shirakumo, the rain comes back, right? The rain comes back and it strips away all of Aizawa's growth in that moment. And it brings him right back to where he was at the beginning of the flashback, not knowing what he wants to do. And honestly, like, just racked with grief. Because after this initial moment where we see everything go down here with them seeing Shirakumo's body and seeing all that play out, we then get a little like time jump, right? And we see that Aizawa is fully focused on just combat. all he's focused on is just increasing his combat capabilities. And what I like about that is it shows Aizawa is not properly handling his grief, right? He has not fully processed it the way that he should be, and he's channeling this in an unhealthy way, right? And all Yamada can do is watch, because Yamada, I feel like, blames himself as well, because Yamada's attack, when the creature used his attack, I'm pretty sure that was the attack that buried Shirakumo under the rubble. So I do think Yamada has residual guilt that he too is still processing. But the difference is he's processing it in a more healthier way. I feel like Aizawa is shutting everyone out. He shut everyone out. He's not properly grieving. Even at the end of the graduation ceremony, when Yamada tries to talk to him, he uses Erasure on his friend to cut out his voice so he can just dip, right? That was insane to me. Like, that showed that Aizawa was that to me that showed that Aizawa was officially not processing his grief in the right way. You then see him go like on a little like montage of him just fighting people in the underworld, getting stronger, completely isolating himself. And then we see Koichi. We see Koichi's smiling face with the cat, and Aizawa is kind of like brought back in a way, right? Aizawa has kind of like just been a shell of himself for so long. But when you see Koichi and all those guys talking about making a cat cafe, right? Giving the cat somewhere to go, giving the cat a cafe, them even giving Aizawa like his own like designated spot in the cafe when it's fully built. And you see Aizawa, like you see all of them framed kind of in the same way that Shirakumo, Aizawa, and Yamada were in the flashback, right? And kind of like the same art style. And you see the light kind of come back into Aizawa's eyes again. And then because you see like him being like, oh, the rain's finally lifted. And that shows to me that Aizawa is finally ready to move on and finally process his grief. And that all comes from Midnight sending him the picture of Sushi, showing that Sushi is still being taken care of to this day, because the main thing the first thing as a hero that he wanted to do was give Sushi a proper home with him, Shirakumo, and Yamada. And now he feels like he can finally do that. And you then see him just walk off and saying, I'll come to the cafe when it's done. And then the flashback ends. Or Aizawa's flashback arc comes to a conclusion with a beautiful montage credits. Dude, I could stay here and talk about this episode all day. This was hands down the best episode, one of the best episodes of My Hero Academia I think I've ever seen, right? This is a top 5 episode. This is like up there with some of the best of the series. Everything felt perfect. Like I said, from the voice acting to the animation to the art to the artwork to the OSTs, everything was perfect, right? When you see Aizawa like coming to terms with the death, him actually realizing Shirakumo was dead, it's all perfect. It's such a perfect episode, man. I can't think of a better episode of My Hero Academia at this point. And I think that's going to do it for me, guys. Like I said, I could talk about this episode all day, but this is the episode that I've been waiting for. This is like a perfect episode of anime, and I can't wait to see what Vigilantes does next. And I'm just so happy to see Aizawa's journey finally brought to its proper conclusion. But I think that's going to do it for me. Let me know what you guys think about this episode down in the comments below. Did you guys love this episode as much as me and think it's one of the best episodes of My Hero Academia? Or do you guys think completely different? Let me know what you guys think. Like, comment, subscribe. And as always, I'm going to talk to you guys next time. Bye.